All right, let's jump into a pretty unique deep dive today. We're not really looking at typical research papers or news this time.
No, we've got something different. It's a stack of court documents.
Exactly. From the Case Card Connect LLC versus Shift 4 Payments LLC.
And these aren't just, dry legal filings. We've actually gone through the exhibits.
The real stuff?
Yeah, the text messages, expert reports, technical details, all the raw material that surfaces in court.
So our mission here is basically to pull out the most interesting bits, the surprises.
Get that unfiltered look at what was really going on behind the scenes in this pretty high-stakes conflict.
What jumps out right away, I think, is just how candid the communications are.
Oh, absolutely. When these internal texts become public exhibits, wow, the bluntness is something else.
Yeah, like that one exchange, you probably saw it, about integrating the companies.
The thermonuclear capabilities one.
That's the one. I have thermonuclear capabilities and no desire. I mean, that's not your standard corporate speak.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And then you see other stuff, like conversations about needing to scrub the metadata off a phone.
Right, or thinking about switching messaging apps.
It shows they were aware, aware that this stuff might get looked at later.
And the competitiveness, it wasn't subtle.
No kidding. Calling the other side a dumbass stuck with, 30-year-old tech.
Like a PC junior being delusional. It's pretty direct.
Yeah. But it wasn't just insults. These texts, they actually get into real business strategy.
Deal dynamics.
Yeah, and some surprising details, like pressure around specific security tools. You mentioned GPG and Veracrypt.
Mm-hmm. And worrying about the certification costs for specific versions.
Which makes you think, why those tools? Probably because compliance and security were becoming flashpoints in the dispute itself.
And you see the strategy playing out, like internal messages talking about wanting to bind the other party.
Strategically bind them, yeah.
Yeah.
And talking through the complexities of certain deals, like the eye-level agreement they mentioned.
It's a real window into the maneuvers happening alongside the main conflict.
Okay, but now, this is where it gets, for me anyway, really intriguing. The alleged attempts to hide data.
Ah, yes. The expert reports finding steganography apps.
Right. Tools like StegHide, OpenStegos, StegExpose found on an employee's phone.
Steganography. Just to remind folks, that's hiding data inside other files, like images, kind of digital secret messages.
Exactly that. And what's fascinating here is the contrast. You have testimony saying, oh, these apps weren't used.
But then emails surfaced.
But then emails seem to tell a different story, like one where images were sent and the sender actually says something like, oh, embedding the data didn't work after I forwarded it.
Huh. So they admitted trying.
Well, the implication is there. And the key part is forensic analysis later pulled out specific files hidden inside those original images.
Before the forward.
Exactly. Things like financial docs, competitive info. So maybe forwarding broke it, but the original act, the hiding, it happened.
Wow. And didn't they even find texts talking about specific methods?
Yeah, there was a text mentioning PowerShell Stego.
PowerShell steganography.
And the belief it was used to get past our firewall, plus, how hard that stuff is to detect.
So a specific technical concern right there in a text message, that's pretty revealing.
Definitely. And moving beyond just hiding data, the documents also mention some significant technical problems.
Like network issues.
Yeah, recurring F5 network outages, F5 being, a big network gear company.
Right. And these outages were impacting customers.
And they linked them to issues with a project deployment, something called dollars on the cloud. So operational problems becoming actual evidence in the case.
Then there were those encrypted database files, the .kdbx ones.
Often used for password managers or secure notes, they showed up as exhibits.
Listing things like usernames, passwords, but redacted.
Yeah, the entries were marked redacted. So the sources are clear. The existence of these encrypted files is on the record, but what's actually inside them wasn't publicly revealed or decrypted in these particular documents.
So their secrets, at least from this source, stay hidden.
Right.
So pulling it all together, looking at these court docs, everything from casual texts to, technical reports and exhibit lists.
It gives you this incredibly detailed, often surprising view of what goes on in these big business fights.
And the digital footprints people leave, it's kind of amazing.
It really is. And it makes you think, doesn't it? With so much critical communication happening digitally.
How much vital info in any conflict only ever sees the light of day when the tech and the messages get pulled into the legal process?
Exactly. There's this whole silent digital history being made constantly, just potentially waiting to become evidence someday.